Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to this week's episode. And it's episode number 140, and it is November the 9th, 2021. And I hope everybody had a great weekend and a great week last week. And let's get right into it because there's a lot to tell you about. So, current projects. Well, this time last week, I started my class about how to create a Lone Star quilt. And this is a class, as you know, because I mentioned it last week, is one that I had booked way back before COVID started, and then COVID interrupted everything. Well, now the class is back on. There are only 5 of us in the class. We are all masked. We are all double vaccinated. We are all spread out. So it's a fairly safe environment, as safe as you can get it during this time. So off I went, and I'm enjoying the class. I have my second one today, and as I said, we are putting together a Lone Star quilt, and I've always wanted to do a Lone Star. Now, yes, there are tons of patterns out there about doing a Lone Star, but many of them, not all of them, but many of them have Y seams, and Y seams seem to be something that people get really uptight about. I know I was uptight about them until I did some. And I haven't done them in a while, and I taught myself how to do them, well, with the help of YouTube. YouTube's wonderful for those kind of things. And really, they're a little bit of a pain, but they're not that difficult. But this class was one I want to take, not just because I want to make a Lone Star, but because this was a class where I was going to learn how to do Y seams. And the instructor for this class is an excellent instructor, and I have taken many classes with her before, and I know that I will learn the proper way and the best way to do Y seams. So I'm excited about that. So I did my homework for this week, which was to get these long strips all sewn together, which are going to be cut today at 45-degree angles to create the little diamonds that go in this particular star. And then from there, we'll learn how to put it all together. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Now, I have been busy doing a lot of things. This last week was, well, starting on Friday, but you know what I'm talking about there if you saw my vlog yesterday or Stephen and Walter Live. So I'm not going to go into it again. But yeah, it's been a strange few days, as you can probably imagine from what I said in the vlog. But anyways, I digress, as I often do. I finished the top of a quilt I call my autumn quilt. And I'm going to throw a picture of it up here on screen for you to see while I talk about it. And there it is. And this was a panel. Now, I saw the panel has these old-fashioned steam engines in it. And I just kind of like the look, and I like the colors in it. It definitely screamed fall to me because you see in the background of those panels, there are trees, autumn trees. The colors are there. And I found the pattern for this as well that uses this particular panel. And one thing led to another, and I ended up purchasing all the coordinating fabrics. Now, there was one fabric I could not get. It was called a neutral geometric, something like that. But I found something else that would work, and the one that I found is the one you see going around these little borders. Now, on screen, these look like dots, but they're not. Well, they are. Here's a close-up. They're geometric shapes connected with the dots. And you can also see here, there was this fabric that was part of the line too. It was called outlines, which is the outlines of old steam engines as well. So this was the only fabric right in here that I could not get my hands on, the original fabric for it, but I got this and it works well with it. No problems really. So it turned out, I think, pretty good. I'm got to throw it on the long arm. I'm hoping to get it on the long arm this week. And I think I'm not going to get fancy with this one because I wanted something quick to put on the back of my couch in my family room for fall. And I had a Halloween quilt on there right now, which I really love that Halloween quilt. But, you know, I want something a little bit less specific to a holiday. And this quilt will not be sitting on the back of that couch for all that long because once we get into December, I'll be swapping it out for a Christmas quilt or two or 3 that I have in my collection that I've made in the past years. So that's why I want to get this one done fairly quickly. And this went together fairly quickly as well. There was a fair amount of cutting involved, but overall it turned out, I think, really nice. I am really definitely getting more into panels and using panels in a quilt than I ever was before. I guess, I don't know why, but you know, if you want to make a quick quilt, oftentimes a panel is the way to go. So let me switch back to me. Yeah, there I am. So yeah, that's a project that is ready to go on Lucey. And I started working on another Christmas wall hanging, and I showed you last week the placemats that I had bought, or the files for in the hoop placemats that I bought from Hoop Sisters. And I was not impressed. I altered how to make them. It was a quilt and go pattern. I hate quilt and go patterns. I find them tedious, that's all. I'm sure some people love them, but I don't. But anyways, I altered it, and the 2 placemats I made turned out okay, and I showed those to you last week. Well, then I thought I'd make a small wall hanging as well, using some of the elements of these files that I bought from Hoop Sisters. That was a disaster on a couple of levels. One, jump threads. Jump threads are connecting threads that move from one part of a design to another in an embroidery machine. Now, many times, most embroidery patterns, machine embroidery patterns that I have used in the past, cut the jump threads as you go, automatically, using the thread cutter in your embroidery machine. Not with this particular pattern. There are a lot of jump threads to cut, and that is tedious as well. Didn't like that. The design is a little on the juvenile side, I thought. Some people would call it cute. I would call it juvenile. And I those kind of designs don't usually appeal to me. Not usually, you know. But anyways, I thought it might make an interesting wall hanging. Now, they had flying geese involved with it, and you did the flying geese in the hoop. Holy crap. I could make the flying geese using conventional methods with my sewing machine faster than I could do them in the hoop. I mean, yeah. And it's just a tedious process. Well, I decided that I would speed up the process by taking out a larger hoop and putting some flying geese that I had to make, these columns of flying geese, all on one hooping. Now, it was going to take a while for it to, do its thing, but I could do it more assembly line process. Well, I was moving along with that merrily for several hours, and I turned my back on my embroidery machine, and my embroidery machine decided to catch one of the pieces of fabric on the edge of this design, tangle it around the foot, and rip it out of the hoop. And I was using tearaway stabilizer, so of course it ripped. Well, once that happens, you're screwed. You can't fix that no matter what you think you might be able to try. And at that point, I was not enjoying the process. I was not enjoying the design. Why am I putting myself through this kind of hell? If it doesn't bring you joy, throw it out. Now, I know a lot of people are loath to do that, but that's how we get UFOs, isn't it? Many times UFOs in our collection of UFOs are ones that we just got bored with or weren't enjoying the process anymore, so we threw it off to the side and started something new. And that is fine. We should never feel guilty about that. I mean, this is a hobby. If it doesn't bring you joy, then why are you doing it? Why put yourself through the anguish and create stress for yourself? It's a hobby. It's supposed to be a stress reliever, not a stress inducer. So I said, yeah, that was a learning experience. Bye-bye. And so I'm not doing that. And I said I wasn't going to make any more Christmas things, but I love Christmas fabric. Everybody does. And so I found some designs on OESD, which is the site I go to get a lot of my embroidery designs. And I just got done saying that I don't like cute. Yeah. So I bought cute. So I bought 4 designs. They were on sale for $1 a piece, $1 American a piece. And it was called the I Believe in Santa series. So I bought 4 of these. This one's one of them. I Believe in Peace. And that's supposed to be a little kitty and a dog. You see the kitty's laying on the dog's back. Cute. But you know I love cats. I like dogs too. And then I Believe in Laughter. Santa and a Reindeer. Cute. And then I Believe in Hope. Cute. And I Believe in Santa. Cute. Yeah. So I bought cute. So what I said a moment ago about I don't usually buy cute, yeah, no, I lied. Okay, now what am I going to do with those? Well, I have a panel, a Christmas panel. I've had it for, I think I bought it last year, never did anything with it. So I am going to just add an inner border and an outer border, and on the outer border I'll make it wide enough. I'll cut these down so they'll become the cornerstones in the quilt. And I think that'll look kind of cute. I'm all about cute now, aren't I? I'm all about panels, and I'm all about cute. Never say never. So that's what I'm working on right now. So that takes me to what's been happening, what's new, what's next segment. Well, I got a fabric haul from, Walter and I went shopping to, I'm just trying to adjust my screen here. Bear with me for a minute. Actually, just give me a second because I have some pictures I want to show you of the fabric haul that we picked up at Ultimate Sewing last week. So like I said, I picked up a few fabrics at Ultimate Sewing. Now, I hadn't intended to do any shopping for fabric last week. What happened was, one of the store employees, they're very efficient at Ultimate Sewing, and I mean that seriously, gave me a call to let me know another couple of fabrics in a line that I really love, that I asked Shirley to order for me back months ago, in the summer, I think, basically. I forget what it's called, Luster something. I think it's by Northcott, something like that. Anyways, beautiful fabric. And I ordered, or I got from Shirley, I think 3 or 4 of the color waves that were there. She didn't get them all in, but that was enough for me at the time. Well, apparently she got a couple of more in, and so Lynn at the store gave me a call and said, "These have come in. Do you want any?" Well, yes. Now, I thought there were 2 different fabrics that had come in that line, but it turned out it was only 1. So I said, yeah, cut me 2 meters, please. I'll be in a little bit later on to pick it up. So off we went down to Ultimate Sewing. Well, on the way there, I said to Walter, I should take another look at what Shirley has to offer in wide back fabrics, because I need some more wide back fabrics. I still have some UFOs that need to be quilted, and I don't like piecing backings. I like the wide back fabric, the 108-inch stuff. So I went in, and yes, I bought, I don't know, I think I bought 3 or 4 different ones, and I bought about 3 meters of each, because that's what I usually do with wide back. And then Shirley, she's evil, she turned around and said, if you see any bolts of fabric, that are getting close to the end, if you want whatever's left on that bolt, I'll give you 25% off. And I went, ka-ching. Yeah, okay. So I happened to find a couple of Christmas fabrics on the end of the bolt that had, I think neither one of them had a full 2 meters, about 1.9 or something like that. So I got those because I'm getting a sale. Now, you have to think about this for a second, how good a bargain this was. I've been talking about fabric prices lately. We talked about that in a whole segment on So Chatty last week. And the link for So Chatty's in the notes below. So when she's offering that price, that's really good, because it's $15 a meter for most of her fabrics. Some are slightly more, but most of them are $15 a meter. If you're getting 25% off a meter, that's what? Do the math. 30, That's about $3.75 off. So let's say 4, round it up. So 15 meters becomes $11 a meter. That's really good, really good. So that sucked me in. And then I got thinking, I'm getting low on my supply of white fabric. Now, I usually get a white fabric, a bolt of it that has a slight pattern to it, subtle, because I like to have that on hand for background. And so I bought a bolt of stuff that I had there. And because I bought a bolt, I got another discount on that. Plus, I get 10% off on all the other things that I bought because I have bought sewing machines there. And that's one of Shirley's little perks. When you buy a sewing machine from her, you get 10% off most of the things you buy from her for life. So, yeah. Now, I'm just going to show you, switch to the picture. There are the fabrics that I bought. So you can see over on the far left-hand side, those are the wide backs that I picked up. One's a Cape Facet, another one is a Northcott Stonehenge, and I'm not sure what the red one is. So I have those. And then I picked up some background fabric. Now, I picked this one up because it was near the end of the roll, so I got the discount. And then here's my whole bolt as well. And I don't know if I can blow this up so you can see. There is a slight pattern to that. It's really not showing up on camera very well. No. So, trust me, there is a pattern. And then these are the Christmas fabrics that were at the end of the bolt, so I got a discount on those. And this is the one I went in for. Just blow that up a little bit more. Yeah, this is the luster one. That's the one I went in originally to pick up, and then after I was done, I had all of these. I think there's a couple of other pictures here. That's the luster. Isn't that beautiful? And I had that in several colorways. That's the Christmas. And then those are the bolts. And that's the wide back fabric there. So, yeah. What did this all end up costing me? $508 and some odd cents. And you're probably going, crap. Yeah, it was retail therapy. I was in the mood, so I did. Now, I'm not a rich man. Okay, I save my money. I budget it out. I have a little fund I call my fabric fund. It builds up over time. And so that's why sometimes I can go out and do a little bit of a splurge without going into hock. It's just the way I am when it comes to economics. Okay, so I did buy some other fabric too. Now this fabric is not for a quilt. It's actually fabric that looks like a quilt. Right here. And I bought 4 meters of this from Peachtree out west, which is another one of my favorite online fabric stores. And the reason I bought this was because of these designs, because this is going to make great fabric, I think, for practicing ruler foot quilting on Lucey. So that's why I got it. And yeah, I don't intend to make it into a quilt. Although if I got really good at the ruler foot quilting, you probably could. But it's just for practice. Okay. Did I buy other things? Yes, I did. How about these? What are these? These are lights. We have a little switch here. 3 settings on each one for brightness. There's a button at the back that changes the temperature. 3 different temperatures. That's the brightest. And you wear them around your neck. And in a dark room in the middle of the night when somebody's sound asleep, stand over top of them with these glaring in their face and they'll probably crap the bed. I bought these because someone on Craft and Chat mentioned to me that they had these. I saw them wearing them, and they use them for close-up work. Like if you're doing cross-stitching or you're doing needlework or whatever. But I got them because sometimes I can't see very clearly, even though my sewing machine is really well lit. You can't see right up. You need to get that needle into a certain point, and I can't see it, so I figured these would help. And I've tried them out, and yeah, they do work. However, let me turn this off before I blind you. However, I was a little disappointed in these. They're not as bright as I would have liked them to have been. So I actually wrote to the company. I did a review on Amazon about them, and I said that. I said, okay, for the price, they're okay. They weren't expensive. They were about $30 with tax, and I have Prime, so I got free shipping on those. Yeah, free shipping. They just build that into the price, but whatever. And they're well made. They're well made. They're rechargeable. It comes with a USB cord, so you can plug them into whatever and charge them like you would your phone or your iPad. So that's great. They're very flexible. So, if you don't want to wear them around your neck, but you want someplace else, well, yeah, they work well for that too. I just thought they should be brighter. And I know they look pretty bright when I'm shining them at you. And they are, but I just wanted them brighter. So when I wrote the review about that, I got an answer back from the company. And they had some tips on how to use them. But one of the tips was make sure you take the plastic off the little lights. Oops. I didn't know there was a little plastic piece or a light. You know how they put a little clear piece of plastic on anything that's acrylic or that might get scratched when they ship it to you, and you usually peel that stuff off? Well, yeah, that helped. That did help a little bit. They're still not as bright as I would like them to be, but I'm not sending them back because I think they'll still be useful. And if you're interested in what they're called, I got them from Amazon, and they are called Glowsent or something like that. It's Glocusent lights. And I don't know if I put a link in the show notes. Let me see. No, I didn't put a link in. But they're easy to find if you just put in. Actually, if you just put in, there's other ones besides those. You put in neck lights or something like that, LED neck lights, and you'll find quite a few to choose from. Some of them can be quite pricey too. Maybe those ones would be brighter, but I'm not taking the chance because this is something I'm not going to use every day. So, but anyways, I got those. Did I buy anything else? Yes, I did. Yesterday, I got an email from OESD, Embroidery Online, and because I've signed up for their, alerts and that, and they've always got, this time of the year, they start to have a lot of sales. And they had a sale on somebody by the name of Krista Hemrick, her designs. And now, remember what I said about cute? I'm a liar. Oh, I'm such a liar. I saw this, and it's to make a quilt. And I have done in the hoop type quilts before, like right there on the far side of me, you can see two of them. This side. Okay, that one with the doors, and then the one, this is awkward. The one, the orange one that's hanging, the Halloween one. And I've done some of those tiled ones that are for Christmas, which are in my Christmas stash of things that will come out soon. And I kind of like doing them. They do take a while. Well, I saw this one. It's called Sewing Quilt. And you can see that center piece right there. I should have taken a picture of this and put it up on the computer screen. It would have been better. But anyways, all these different panels. Now, I won't necessarily put it together the way they have it here, but I thought, yeah, there was something about it that attracted me. And yes, it is cute. So I bought that. But the beauty of it was they were having a sale, a BOGO. Buy one, get one. And it was a true BOGO sale. That pattern I just showed you was $49.99 American. So that's pricey. Okay. And that's why I hesitated about buying it, because translated in Canadian dollars, it's about $3 million. Okay. But they had a BOGO. If I bought another one of the collections in the same line by this Krista, what do I call her? Krista Hamrick, you got a second one free. Well, there was another cutesy little quilt there. I don't like the colors in it, but that's okay. I don't have to use those colors. And this is called Family Alphabet. A little bit of a glare. But I'm not a big fan of pink, and so it will not be pink when I make it, whenever I get to it. But I thought, what the heck? It's free. And on top of it all, I bought that one. I got the second one free. They also threw in another collection free that I didn't know they were going to put in that's got Halloween and Christmas and seasonal patterns in it. It's not for a quilt. It's just embroidery patterns, but I think there's something like 33 different patterns in it. It's called Cozy and Warm. And I thought, well, geez, even more of a bonus. So really, it was a 3B. I got 3 for the price of 1 on there. So that made me happy. And I'm dying to get to work on that at some point. So anyways, what else? Nothing else that I bought, but I just said I can't wait to get to work on that. Well, it will have to wait for a while. I'm having a little problem with my embroidery machine. The thread cutter isn't cutting thread, which is an important element on an embroidery machine because otherwise you have to cut everything manually, and that's tedious. That's my word for today, cute and tedious. So I decided to look online to see what the problem was with it. And yeah, it said because it's dirty. Well, you know, I keep my machines very, very clean, but this is a part that you have to take part of the cover of the machine off to get at. So I did. And yes, there was lint built up and stuck underneath the blades that cut your thread. So I cleaned that all up, but some of it was very difficult to get out. It wouldn't come out. And I had tweezers in there trying to get bits of thread out and whatnot in a very small space. So what do I decide to do? I go online, I find some instructions on how to take it apart. You know where I'm going, don't you? So I took it apart. I cleaned it up. I oiled it. I put it back together. And it didn't work. I don't know. I screwed around with it for a while. And then, of course, Walter took a look at it. And you know what he called me. You're an idiot. And he did some more research, because that's what he likes to do. And he started to take it apart. So there was a lot of cursing and a lot of swearing. We got it apart, we got it all together again, and it still didn't work. In fact, it started to cause a problem with another element of the machine, but we figured out what that problem was. It was very minor, and we adjusted that. So I could use the embroidery machine, the thread cutter just doesn't cut. So guess where it's going today? When I go down to my class at Shirley's, my machine is going in as well, and tell Roy, the technician, Roy, I have a problem with my thread cutter, and I'm debating whether I should tell him that I've already been playing around with it, but I'm sure he'll be able to tell. So I'll just be upfront about it. What he'll probably do is put in a whole new unit. And who knows what that's going to cost me. But I never come out of there with a sewing machine repair or clean up or whatever for less than $100. So yeah, but you want to know something? We could have fooled around with it more. In fact, Walter did some more research after we gave up, and he said, oh, we were kind of doing it the hard way. You can actually take the whole unit out, and that makes it more accessible. And I said, yeah, let's not. Let's just stop while we're ahead and have the professionals look at it. So yeah, I could still use it, but I need the thread cutter. So I was able to yesterday finish up those cornerstones I was showing you for that Christmas panel quilt that I'm going to make. And it'll go in, and it'll probably be in there for a week. And then it comes back and we'll be fine. And then I can start on those other projects. So, yeah. Well, do you think that's the only problem I had this week? No. Well, first of all, let me tell you what was going on for the weekend. Energize 4.0 was going on. This is sponsored by The Quilter's Way, which is the online group that I'm a member of that you have heard of from me many, many times before. And Kim Jameson Hurst, the owner, operator of The Quilter's Way, has one of these every 6 months, basically twice a year. And they're fun. I enjoy them. So I was in the middle of that when my embroidery machine was down. So Walter and I are trying to fix it while I'm, conversing with and watching demos and things with Energize. And then, out of the blue, my iron blew up. Blew up real good. My expensive, very expensive tank iron. The one that was my dream iron that Walter bought for me a year and a half ago for my birthday that cost well over $300. I love that iron. It has a great big water reservoir on it, so you don't have to keep running back and forth every 10 minutes to fill up your iron, it steams like a dream, and it's just great. It was. Well, I have noticed lately that has been making weird sounds, like the pump in it that's pumping water through its system would just turn itself on for no apparent reason when I wasn't using it. I mean, the iron was on, but it was doing that. And it would make weird gurgling sounds. And it would sometimes, and when I went to steam something, well, I had to now hold it off to the side and press the steam button. Otherwise, I would soak whatever I was steaming. It would just blow all this water out. And after you gave it a little initial blow off to the side, it seemed to be okay. Well, I'm just sitting there watching and working on my projects, watching Energize and everything on the computer, and suddenly over in the corner where the iron is, there it just goes whoop, really, really loud, like a volcano blowing up. And the room is filled with steam. I kid you not. It just steamed everything in sight. Not only that, there was a puddle of water underneath the iron on my pressing station, dripping down onto the floor. So I'm, what's coming out of my mouth at that point. I'm pissed. I'm really pissed off. What brand of iron is this? A Rowenta. Okay, before you start telling me all kinds of things about horror stories about Rowentas, I've heard them. When I bought the iron, though, it had good reviews, and I didn't see any of those bad reviews. Now suddenly you own something and you're flooded with all kinds of things, people telling you they'll never buy a Rowenta again, blah, 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 blah. Of course, it's not in warranty. And I had a little problem with another Rowenta iron, a little travel iron that I bought. The handle broke on it. I contacted the company, told them what the problem was. They never contacted me back. They ignored me completely. And I actually bought another one because they were cheap. They were about $30 on Amazon, and I really like it, and I still do. And I'm very careful with the handle. Now, it's a folding handle kind of a thing. Okay, fine. But that was my only bad experience with Rowenta. But then again, I've only owned that iron and this big one. So now I'm getting people are telling me about that they never put water in their iron. Because they've had problems with other irons too, including Rowenta, once you get going with the steam and over time. I've had some people tell me they'll never buy a Rowenta product again, and I've had other ones that said they gave up on buying expensive irons. They go to Walmart, they buy themselves a simple iron for under $30. When it goes, they just buy another one, disposable. And guess what? I think I'm going to start doing the same thing. So for now, what I've done is I've resurrected my Olicio. Now, my Olicio, I've had two of those, and they were expensive irons, over $200. They're the ones, that automatically lift up when you put them down. You don't have to put them on the end. You can put them down flat, and they pop up. Well, my first one did stop popping up. I contacted the company. They were good. They sent me a brand new one. No problem. And it was out of warranty as well. I mean, you get like a 90-day to a 1-year warranty on these things, because they know they're going to burn out. They always do. Right, 1 day after the warranty wears off, it breaks. All the time. You can't tell me that's not built-in obsolescence. But, yeah, so I resurrected. Then the second Olicio stopped steaming. Still, you can still iron with it, but just stop steaming. So I've resurrected it, and that's the iron I am using right now. And I may just continue to use that iron and forget about the steam business. I know a lot of people just use a spray bottle of water if they need to do anything like that. And I've been using the Acorn Precision Pressing spray quite a bit lately. I really love that stuff, and it'll take the wrinkles out of anything, and it'll flatten your seams really well. So, I may have to retrain myself about how I do my ironing, and this will be part of it. But yeah, I think I'm done with buying expensive irons. The thing that makes me really upset about, though, is that it was a gift from Walter, and it was a really expensive iron. So it was an expensive gift. So yeah, live and learn. So I guess what I'm learning is buy cheap irons. Don't worry about steam. Just get something that heats up. Yeah. Sit on your fabric. I don't know. Put your fanny on a register, warm it up, and then sit on your fabric. Yeah, that wouldn't work. I don't think. Okay, so yeah, that was the experience I've had with my equipment. You might say, and some people have, I should never go near anything that is mechanical, is a machine. And you're probably right, but I do anyways. Okay, let's move on. That was a lot. Yeah, I do have a demo this week. Speaking about ironing and things like that. Well, this has nothing to do with ironing, but it has everything to do with washing your quilts. And when I first got into quilting, I did not want to wash my quilts after I made them because I was afraid they'd fall apart, and two, that I would have color bleed because I do not pre-wash my fabrics. Well, I do wash my quilts now. I throw them right in the washer. Away they go. They do not fall apart. And I don't have any problem with bleeding fabric, usually. But just to be safe, I use these things. And they're called color guards or color catchers. So I have a little video clip to show you about what I'm talking about. Today I want to talk about this very, very handy item, which is a must-have if you're a quilter, and that's called a color catcher. And the particular type that I'm using are called Dr. Beckman's Color and Dirt Collector. And what these are little pieces of fabric. Here's what one looks like. Well, they're not fabric. They're kind of like a paper in a way, but stronger than paper, that you put into your washing machine along with any fabric that you think might bleed. Now, this is really good when you've made a quilt, because when I first started making quilts, I didn't wash my quilts if they hadn't been used, basically, because I was afraid they'd come apart or color would run in them. Well, I'm over that now, and I realize that it's probably a really good idea to wash your quilt after you've made it, because it just softens it and it makes your quilting pop out a little bit more. But I'm still fearful of color bleeding. Now, today's modern fabrics, at least the ones that we buy for quilting, are fairly color fast. But sometimes the darker colors, like the reds and the blacks, depending, could bleed. The first thing to do is, if you're really afraid that a fabric is going to bleed, before you even start cutting it up and sewing it into a quilt, I would wash it and then press it, just to get the over dye out. But in the meantime, after you've finished your quilt, you might want to use one of these. All these are just, as I said, they collect any excess color that bleeds out of your fabrics. So let's say you have a quilt that has a white background and you're using some darker colors in it. It will catch that bleed so it doesn't dull down or actually change the color of your white background fabric. Now, where can you get these? Well, you can get them at most grocery stores in the laundry area. They may be a different name. Shout makes some as well, and I have heard that they're very difficult to get. I have not had any problem going to a major brand name grocery store, not the grocery stores that might be the more cut rate ones, you know, like No Frills or something like that. They don't tend to carry these, at least I haven't found them there, but I have found them in stores like Metro or Sobeys, that kind of thing. Of course, these are Canadian chains that I'm talking about. You'd have to check them out if you're American in whatever your stores are. Probably like things like Publix, that's one I know. Piggly Wiggly? I'm not sure, I just like the name. But anyways, I digress. These are great. Are they expensive? No. A box of 30 costs $4.99 Canadian. Now, you can get them on Amazon, but they're going to charge you a lot more. I looked up these same ones that I have right here that I'm showing you, 30 number, Dr. Beckman's, and they wanted $16.99 on Amazon for them, and that was with Prime, so supposedly free shipping. So I don't recommend you buy them online unless that's the only place you can get them from. Check out your grocery stores, as I said. Now, how do you use them? Well, they're simple. I usually use 2 sheets just to make sure, and this is what one looks like that hasn't been used yet. And I crumple them up in my hand, get them all wrinkly. before I throw them in the washing machine. And it gives you instructions on the back of the box as to how to use them as well. And that's what they recommend. And they also recommend that you toss them in to the back of your washing machine if it's a front loader, or just down to the bottom before you put the quilt in, or before you put your clothes in. And then put your clothes in and wash like you regularly would do. And you will be surprised at what comes out. For example, if we look at these two, these were two different quilts that I used the color catchers in, and this one came out very dark. Yet there was no bleeding into the other fabrics because I used this. But if I hadn't used this, there could have been that possibility. This one's a little lighter, but there was still color that came out. So you will be surprised at, even though these fabrics we are using today are fairly color fast, you will be surprised how much comes out of them. Can you reuse these? Well, this one I would not. But this one, yes, I can reuse this. Let it dry and toss it in with your next load, because it hasn't really absorbed all the color it can possibly absorb. So you can make them very economical as well, especially if you buy the ones on Amazon that are much more expensive. So I highly recommend using these, and I have heard what some people do is they'll include a couple of these sheets in with a quilt they're gifting to someone, with instructions as to how to use them, just to be on the safe side. So that's Dr. Beckman's, but there's many other brands as well. You should try these out. So if you've never used those, I highly recommend them. Don't buy them on Amazon, as I said in the video, too expensive. You should be able to get them in your local brand name, at least, grocery store. And they were about $5 for a box of 30. So that's not too bad. That's Canadian. So for those of you that are American, it'll be even cheaper. Okay, what's that take us to? Subscribers Quilt of the Week. This is one from Fidel, my friend Fidel in Mexico. He is a brilliant long arm free motion quilter to be able to do what he can do with a quilt. But he sent me a picture of his latest creation, and I'm going to show it to you. This week's quilt comes from one of my regular viewers, Fidel. And Fidel is in Mexico, and he is an excellent long armer. I've seen a lot of his work, and he's joined us for some of the Idiot Quilter retreats before, and his long arming ability is just outstanding. And here is an example of what I'm talking about. This is a quilt that he's made, and he says, I'm sending a picture of my latest quilt. Here is some info. It's called a Jacob's Ladder, or a Road to California. That's the design. And he quilted it with a long arm using ruler. So this is ruler foot quilting, which I have been trying lately, as you know. This, he says, is going to be a wedding gift, and a lovely gift at that. Let's take a closer look at it, shall we? Moving in here, I want to focus on the actual quilting. Remember, he's doing this as ruler foot quilting, and really nice. And actually, the design is made up of curves by the looks of things, and is fairly simple yet very elegant. So it just goes to show you don't have to do a lot of really detailed and fancy quilting with your rulers to get something that just stands out as fantastic, and this one definitely does. Beautiful quilt. Love the color scheme in it too, and I've noticed that the way that Fidel has designed this, he has one color pathway going on the top of the bed, and the drop is actually another, and I think that in itself makes this really fantastic. So thank you, Fidel, for sharing that with us. Your quilting is absolutely beautiful. So I'm getting a little low on quilts to show. I think I have another couple of weeks worth, and then I'm out. So yep, send me your creations. Remember, it doesn't just have to be a quilt. It could be garment you've sewn. It could be a craft project of some sort. It could be a painting, whatever. So send them to me, and I will feature them. Make sure you include a little couple of sentences describing what it is, and away we go. Okay, so that takes me to the YouTube site. Now, this week it's not a YouTube site. It is several YouTube sites. And if you're interested in buying a long arm, or you've been thinking about it, Well, there's a lot of choices out there, but how do you decide which one is right for you? And let's say you can't go to a local dealer, you don't have one nearby where you can actually try them out. Well, the second best thing is to check out YouTube channels. And so I've put together a few that I think you might find helpful.
So you say you want to buy a long arm, but you're not sure where to look or what companies to deal with. Well, a good resource is going to YouTube. Each of the major companies that make long arm machines have a YouTube channel that tells you everything you need to know about their particular models. So I have a few here that are the most common that I have linked in the show notes below that you can take a look at. Janome, for example, just came out with a brand new long arm machine called the Quilt Maker Pro 20, which is one that you might be interested in, especially if you already own Janome products. This is very helpful websites in general, or not websites, but YouTube channels in general, to take a look at how these machines operate, because you may not have a long arm dealer close to you. You can also take a look at the company I deal with, APQS, and this is a video I'm showing right now about my machine, the Lucey. You can use these YouTube channels to do some comparison shopping. Of course, Gammill is another major manufacturer of long arms, so you can go on to their site and check out what they have to offer. And the same with Handi Quilter. All four of these companies are big names in sewing supplies, in long arm machines, especially. Janome, maybe not so much as the other three, because they have a much more limited selection in long arms, but it's worth checking these out. So I've put the links, as I said, in the show notes below so you can do some online shopping.
Okay, so that takes me to what's on my vision board this week, and this is a pattern called Highway 2. It was a free pattern, and it's by Doug Lico, and you've heard me mention this designer's name before because I bought one of his patterns and featured it last week. So this one is a free pattern, and all you need to do is go to Antler, I think it's called Antler Quilt Designs, and sign up for their newsletter. They send you a link to get this free pattern, but here's what it looks like. So this is the pattern by Doug Lico at Antler Quilt Designs, and you can get this pattern free. And as you can see on the screen, that that's what they tell you. It is a free pattern. Well, how do you get this free pattern? Easy. You just sign up with for their newsletter. Or you can just add it instantly to your cart. Now it is digital, you can download it. But what I liked about this pattern, if I get in here, are these little these little pieces here. These are fussy cut pieces. And I was thinking you could do something really interesting with family pictures. Print family pictures out onto fabric. There's methods for doing that. And then sew those into your quilt. Or maybe put in some pictures from a trip, a memorable trip you had, or a special event, that kind of thing. So this could make a really interesting quilt that you could have as a keepsake, as a memory quilt, or even give it as a gift on a special occasion, like a birthday or an anniversary, with pictures of the individual or things that are important to that individual built right into the quilt. So I may do that at some point. I'm not really fond of the color scheme they're showing with this, but that's okay. You can do whatever color scheme you want. So that's a free pattern, so you may want to pick that up. So that takes me to what would usually be a teaser for the Idiot Quilter Presents, an interview, but the last couple of weeks I haven't had any interviews because nobody has volunteered to be interviewed. Okay, so I thought, what can I do with that space instead to torture you for not volunteering? What? That's why I'm doing it. Yeah. The Idiot Quilter Presents now Musings. It's just where I rattle on, and you go, what's different about that? About a topic that comes to mind that's related to quilting or sewing or that kind of thing. there. So last week I put my first one up, and that was about being a fabric addict. And I'm going to have one this week, and I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with my problem with irons. So anyways, that's my new section of my YouTube channel, but I am still open to doing interviews there as well. So think about it. Think about becoming famous. I will make you famous. Yeah, no. So that takes us to one of my quilts. And since I have been talking lately about Christmas, and we're now into November, so a lot of us are starting to turn our attention to the holiday season, I thought I would show you one of the quilts I made a year ago that I get out at Christmas time, and I call it Addict Window Santa. It does feature a panel, but it also features the style or the piecing method called Addict Window. So I'm going to put that in here for you.
This week I thought I'd critique one of my quilts that I made last year for Christmas. And this was made from a panel, and it's an attic window design. And the quilt is not really wonky. It's just the angle I took the picture at when I had it up on my wall for Christmas. Yeah, as I said, this is a panel, and I used the style of an attic window to quilt this, or to put it together. So essentially what you do is you cut up the panel into pieces and then build these sashing strips around it to give the illusion of a window sill, and you're looking out into the scene. It's probably a good idea to put a panel together, or to use a panel that has an outdoor kind of scene to it, so it does look like you're looking through a window. I was really pleased with the way this turned out, and I did quilt it on my domestic machine. So let's just pull in here. I didn't do anything too sophisticated. I just did some, or tried to do some straight line quilting using my walking foot, and within each window, to give it the illusion of sort of a panes of glass, I just went around into a rectangle with some crosshairs. In along the bottom of this windowsill, I was trying to give it the effect that there might be some snow sitting there or whatever, so I did these little up and down little curvy lines, some free motion quilting. Not the best, but you know, I'm learning as I always do. And now that I have a long arm, well, I can do a lot more. I'm really pleased with the way this turned out, and it looks really great on my wall by my fireplace in my rec room. And as I said, it looks a little better when you see it in real life. It doesn't look quite this wonky, because it's really not wonky. It is straight, trust me on that. And I got some good mitered corners on this too. Let's just focus in a little bit on that, because I'm really proud of the corners. Well, you can't see it very well, but trust me, they worked out okay. So yeah, one of my Christmas quilts, and over the next few weeks I'll probably feature a few other Christmas quilts that I have made in the past.
And that brings us to my review of an online quilting store for this week, and the store I'm featuring is called the Stitchery.
This week's online quilt store is called the Stitchery, and I have never visited this store in my life. This is the first time I've actually checked this out. So let's see what their website holds. So right here on their front page, they have a couple of interesting things. New Liberty Lawns have arrived. Check them out here. So they're focusing on new arrivals, and they have new arrivals listed here: upcoming classes, tools for beginners. And they have classes and their fabric, patterns, kits and crafts, supplies, new, and about us. Well, let's go to about us. Oh, look at this. They have sewing machines and furniture, custom embroidery, Stitchery VIPs, whatever that is, general information, resources, a blog, health and safety, etc., and contact. So let's go to about us just to see where this store is actually located, if they do indeed have a brick and mortar store. Jill Schuler looks like she might be the founder of this store. They have a mission statement, their story. They opened in 2017. We want to make modern quality fabrics and educate accessible to everyone. So where are they? Well, here's their team. Give you a little information about the people you'll be dealing with. Looks like they're a fairly big affair because they have a fairly large staff. So where are they located? They do have opening hours, so that would mean that they do have a brick and mortar store. And they are in Port Moody, St. John Street, Port Moody. And I don't know where Port Moody is. Have to look that one up on Google. But we'll save that for later on. Okay, so let's take a look at their fabric. And we'll just pick on all. Oh, they have fashion fabric as well, it says. So if you're a sewer or sewist, you may want to check that out. But I'm going to focus on the quilting cotton, of course. Nice. They put up what is sold out, so you know right off the bat with before you put it into your cart and then find out when it comes to checkout time that they have run out of that particular fabric. I always like that. It's disappointing, but I still like it. I'm just looking here to see. $4.95 seems to be the going price. That's got to be for a quarter of a meter or a quarter of a yard. So let's check that out and see. All fabrics are priced by the quarter meter. Okay, well, they're in meters, good. And they tell you how to order for a full meter. So that puts their price at about $20 a meter, which is pretty much the going price, as we have been discovering. Some are a little bit more. Well, they have silk. I think that would probably be for the sewists out there, might like that. Let's see, quilting. Okay, let's go to the quilting. I did all before. And on the left-hand panel, they do have by color, by fabric, by fiber. But they don't seem to have it listed by brand or manufacturer, which I always like that because I have my favorites. Okay, but they do seem to have a fairly good selection. Now, I didn't see anything that said about pre-cuts, but they have belly pots here, which are pre-cuts. So let's just see if we go into that. What else they have? Well, they show the line. They have various ones, and I would take it these ones because they have a line through them you can no longer get. Jelly roll of 20 petite cottons. And what is the price? Well, that's interesting. Did I miss it? Oh yeah, I did miss it. It's $31.99. That's okay. But that seems to be about all they have in pre-cuts. So, did I miss anything here? Not really. Check out their sale. See what their sale prices are like, if these are worth the effort. Well, sold out sale. So $3.70, $3.30, so about $1.25 off on a quarter meter. Well, I don't know if that's okay or not. Not really a great bargain, but better than nothing if there was something here that you like. Okay, let's go up to patterns. Now we have fashion, quilting, other, and sale again. So they seem to divide up their website between garment sewing and quilting. And yeah, okay. Nothing standing out here as being, well, that one's kind of interesting. I've never seen that one before. But most of these other ones I have seen on other sites, which is bound to happen. And prices are about the same as anywhere else. Some sale ones on here too. So that's okay. Not a huge selection. Was there another page? Did I miss that there was another page? Nope. Sorry, I'm probably making you sick by scrolling through this fast. So kits and gifts. So let's look at kits. embroidery kits, reusable gift bag kit, sashiko samplers. Okay. Sashiko is becoming very popular these days. And yeah, some novelty type things. Not seeing a lot of quilt patterns, but there's a lot of cross stitch patterns. My sister would like that. She's a cross stitcher. Doesn't mean she's angry. It just means she likes to stitch. Little joke there. Very little. Let's see. Block of the Month sampler kit from Moda. Milky Way quilt kit. And they have a second page. Not a terrible lot of quilt kits to pick from, but if you're into embroidery, they seem to have quite a bit, and they've got these little stuffed animals which are also embroidery. So if you're into embroidery kits, this might be the place to go. What's under supplies? Notions, sewing machines, sewing furniture. Well, Notions are probably pretty much standard, but let's check out their brand of sewing machines and see what they are offering. Brother. Looks like they're a Brother dealership. And if you have a scan and cut, looks like they have things for the scan and cut as well. I do have one, but I haven't used it in years. Yeah, so they're into the Brother line of products. And something else I want to check out here is sewing furniture. Okay, they talk a little bit about it. How do I choose a machine? And then they're back to sewing machines. Sewing furniture. Handcrafted in Canada. Okay, so it looks to me you can come into the shop and try out demo models. I mean, this is something I think you would have a difficult time ordering online anyway, so maybe that's why they don't show these online. I did, just scanning through here, Brother Sewing Machines, Made in Canada Furniture, and they fix sewing machines. Okay, so I guess you'd have to email them about that kind of thing if you were interested. What do they have under new? Anything new? New arrivals. So twill and cotton. Okay, so that's a quick way to find what they have new in their store. And I wanted to check out their classes, upcoming classes. And let's see, are they doing these as virtual or online? Sold out, sold out, sold out. Kids Sewing Club, Scan and Cut Basics, Embroidery Sample, Throw Pillow, Learn to Quilt. They also have classes for doing garments, intro to stretch, t-shirt, sweater, baby pants. Ruler quilting classes, that's an online class. Well, maybe. It says from $0, so not sure about that. What if I click on that? Will that tell me anything? Looks like it's sold out. Oh, except for one. Oh no, there's several that aren't, and they have the dates here and the times, and these are online classes. So that looks like they have both online classes and in-store classes as well. And there was a section about how they're handling COVID, so, and I imagine they're doing the standard kind of thing. So yeah, they have a lot of sewing classes. Don't look like they have a lot of classes on quilts. A few. That one's kind of cool. Dresden Neighborhood Quilt class. That's really kind of interesting. Okay. So overall, I would say that this is worth checking out. Got to figure out where they're actually located. It was called, what was the name of it again? Let's go back to About Us. Contact. Have a newsletter. in Port Moody. Oh, they're in BC. Okay, well, a little far from me, but if you're in BC, might be worth checking out. Okay, so that is the Stitchery, and yeah, might be worth exploring further.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this week's episode, but I do want to end with a final thought, which is kind of, I'm going to be very serious right now. And I don't want to dwell on this too much, but those of you that may not have seen my vlog yet this week or did not tune in to Stephen and Walter Live probably don't know this information. My mother passed away on last Friday. That's why I mentioned earlier that the weekend was really weird. It was not unexpected, but you know, as much as you may be prepared for something like this, you're never absolutely completely prepared. So I got a phone call Friday morning at about 3 a.m. telling me my mother had passed. And, you know, she had not been happy. She had not been well for quite a long time. So she's in a better place. It's the way I choose to look at it. Of course, the aftermath of all of that is everything that one has to do. And that's what I'm in the midst of right now. We're not having visitations. We're not having a service or anything like that for a variety of reasons. One of them, of course, is COVID. But there's everything that I have to do at this point. Many of you have reached out to me already and sent me your condolences, and I thank you for that. I am fine. It is a little weird, but I knew this day was coming, and it has. And now, in a way, and this may sound callous, but there is a great weight that has been lifted off my shoulders. Because you know, especially if you've been watching my vlog on a regular basis, that I have been looking after my mother for a long time. And that's the strange part of the whole thing. I don't have to do that anymore. So I've regained a piece of my life. But, you know, it's my mother. And I choose to dwell on the good thoughts, not the last 7 years of my mother's life. I'm thinking back to all the good times. And it's going to be a hard Christmas this year in a way, because my mother was all about Christmas. She would start now, if not sooner, starting to decorate her home. My mother loved to decorate for Christmas. And she just loved everything about the Christmas season. She always had. And my mother used to be the hostess with the mostess at Christmas time. She used to throw an annual little gathering. It was never little. There were a lot of people at it in her home. You know, in the early years of it, she used to do all her own baking and that. In the later years, when it got a little bit more for her, she started to, you know, buy more things and that kind of thing. But both she and my father loved to host this party. They had a great time. It was a lot of work for them, but they loved doing it. And Christmas Day with my parents was always a great time, especially when the kids, my nephews and nieces, were all small, when my brother still lived out in this area and everything, because Christmas is a lot for the kids. And it was just a great time. And that's the memory that I'm going to focus on forever about my mother, because that was when my mother was at her absolute best. So anyways, we have our mothers to thank and to appreciate for our great memories, I hope, for great memories and for the things they passed on to us. And yeah, I that's all I want to say about that. So thank you again for those of you that reached out to me with your condolences. I appreciate it. And I know I'm not unique. Other people have gone through this as well. So I am not sad, but it's just weird. Yeah. Anyways, that's enough of that. So see you next week for another episode. And later this week, there will be an episode of So Chatty up. And I have no idea what we're talking about, but then I never do. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.